Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks workshop. I'm going to adjust this camera. I thought I had all the time in the world. I had like 10 minutes to go, and I had tested everything, and I'm not lying to you. With less than 60 seconds to go, I check, and the camera's not working now, and neither is the microphone. It's like, are you kidding me? And with less than 60 seconds to go, I got them both working, and it took a little bit of work. I even had to reboot the software. I mean, in 60 seconds. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope your day's going well. Welcome to Vlog 363, Wednesday, December 13th. Cash will probably be here this afternoon for a lesson. I haven't checked with his grandmother to see how she's doing with that COVID thing, but I'm assuming that she's okay and that they'll be here today, but I don't know that for sure. So I'll have to check on that right after this. I get so busy and forget to look at things. But right now I'm going to do just a little short version of one of my all-time favorite Christmas songs. I hope you'll like it. This is, as I like to say, this one has all the chords. I'll be home for Christmas. You can count on me. Please have snow and mistletoe and presents under the tree. Christmas Eve will find me where the love light gleams. I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my dreams. If only in my dreams. And if you're interested, I'll give you a quick rundown of the chords. It's G, A, D, and then walk up to E, F, C, and then I put a C minor. C, C minor, G, G, E, A, D, and then it starts over. Yeah, it's those people that wrote Christmas songs, they are on a different pay scale than me. Those guys really know their stuff. I'm seriously telling you. Oh my gosh. They're just crazy complicated songs. Some of them anyway. And as a matter of fact, a lot of them are. They're just crazy complicated. Yeah, Jingle Bells is even more difficult than it just sounds. I mean, when you get right into it, you know, it's not just a straight 3-chord song. So anyway, moving on. How did I fix this computer from yesterday's mess? Well, apparently just barely. But what I did was I had a feeling the monitor was probably okay, and I had a feeling the computer was probably okay, but they weren't talking to one another. So I hunted up a different cord. I should have looked this up because I don't really know what the new technology is. There's a connection between the monitor and the computer that's newer than HDMI. I don't know what that's called. But anyway, it's a newer than HDMI connection. So I had it connected that way, and it's been working all along, and then just yesterday it decided it didn't want to work that way anymore. So I hunted up an HDMI cable, which both things do have an HDMI port also. So I hooked it up via HDMI, and now it's working again. So that's how I fixed that. And then, of course, I had to fix the sound, and then I had to fix the microphone, and, you know, it just on and on and on and on and on and on. You just can't believe. So anyway, it's working again. It's a darn good thing I know how to fix computers. I mean, I did that for Southwestern Bell also, break fix. So, I mean, it's not like it's my first rodeo, but when you're under a time crunch, it's Anyway, it was cold here this morning. It's in the mid 20s, I'd say, this morning. Last night, I thought I'd just give you an example of what I mean about this deep valley. Okay, now it's only 3 miles off the blacktop road, down our county road, which is basically a gravel road. It's a little bit blacktopish at the beginning, but it turns to solid gravel within a mile. And anyway, just coming down that road, after I turn off the highway, I'm on the blacktop, I turn on my gravel road, and it was 37 degrees at that point where I turn on. As I keep driving, I get about a mile into it, it's dropped 3 degrees. I get another mile into it, it's dropped 2 more degrees. So it dropped from 37 degrees at the beginning of this 3-mile road to 32 degrees when I got back to the farm. So that'll give you some idea. We're in a cold pocket. It's just amazing how it can be so darn cold down in this valley. But it is. It was a good jam at Dickie's Barbecue last night. We practiced Christmas songs. Yolanda was there, and she came and just sang a different kind of song, just a regular country song, because she's not into the Christmas songs. Apparently, she was not allowed to, have Christmas due to their particular religion that they were. And anyway, it's just one of those deals. And so she just took part, but she took part with just a regular country song, which was perfectly fine. And she did a really good job. And if you don't know who Yolanda is, there's a link in the description. Go to her channel and subscribe. Doggone it. Help her out. She's still not quite to 900, and she needs to get over that 1,000 so she can monetize her channel. So help her out. I brought home this. Now, could I just get a sharp stick in the eye instead? You know me, I told you I do not like novelty instruments. It's just not my thing. I really, I'd just soon be shot in the face as to have to work on this darn thing. So this belongs to Gary's wife, Gary, the guitar player in the band. I told you I'm only working on close friends and relatives' instruments. That's it. Nothing else. And she wants this fixed up. I don't know where she got it. I think she got it in somebody's estate. It was left and she got it or something. Some friend of theirs or something. And so she wants it fixed up. And I told, you know me, I'm kind of blunt. I said to Connie, Connie, are you sure you want that fixed? And she goes, yeah, I want you to fix it. I go, okay. I said, now you know what my mom would say about this, right? And she said, what's that? And I said, well, my mom would say, if she had this, she'd tape a nickel on the inside and then she'd throw it away. And she said, why would she do that? And I said, because that way if some kid found it, they wouldn't be disappointed. They'd have a nickel. Anyway, I'm going to do something to this. You can call it, a lot of people call them banjos. I particularly call them banjolins is what I typically call them. This one is more perhaps a banjo uke, if you will, because it's only got the 4 strings. So you could play it like a mandolin or a 4-string mandolin or a uke, either one. Yeah, just like I said. All I need is one more project. Just one more. That's all I need. Have you ever heard a sonic boom? And I mean a real sonic boom from a sonic jet. If you haven't heard one, even if you haven't heard one since the 60s, you won't remember how they sound. I mean, seriously. If it's been since, like I remember hearing them in the 60s when I was a kid. But I hear them here quite often. I guess it's because we're close to Fort Leonard Wood. And, I understood that it's not legal to do that anymore. You're not supposed to fly supersonic over land. That's what killed the... I can't think of the name of that stupid plane. The plane that flew from, England to here, back and forth. I know it, and you know it too. But anyway, I can't think of the name of it, But anyway, that's what killed it. They couldn't fly over land. They could only fly over ocean because of the sonic booms. Well, just about a week ago, I heard another sonic boom here. So I guess early this morning, I saw a video clip come up that's NASA's trying to reinvent the supersonic jet, and they're trying to commercialize it so that it can fly over land without the boom, And anyway, I put a link in the description if you're interested in it. Like instead of taking, like 7 hours to fly from New York to, England, you can fly in about 3 hours, or less. And because they'll fly it like Mach 2, And basically, the technology, in a nutshell, is that they're trying to force the boom up rather than down, and it's about as loud as like you slamming a car door instead of that kaboom. I mean, it is so crazy loud, and it shakes everything here when you hear it. I mean, it shakes everything. The buildings shake. If you're standing on these concrete floors, you can feel it vibrate. It feels like an earthquake, and it sounds so cotton picking loud, and the horses take off running. I mean, like it scares them to death. And my brother, the first time he heard one, Scott, he was down here deer hunting, and one of those came, and he ran all the way from his deer stand back here, like he was afraid something blew up and killed somebody, I mean, it's scary. That was first one he ever heard in his life, because he's 8 years younger than me, and by the time he was old enough to remember it, it was already over with, I imagine, because they quit doing it. But for some reason, they happen here still, and I don't know why they do, but they do. And they are crazy loud. And so put in the comments if you've heard one, and especially if you've heard one recently. I'm seriously telling you, it shakes you all the way through your whole body. It's nuts. It's louder than you would ever believe. So anyway, there's a link in the description if you're interested in hearing about that, the new technology, and just think about that. I mean, like, I could fly from here to visit my grandson in 30 minutes, in Dayton. Now, they probably won't make that short of a hop, more than likely, but it'd take 30 minutes and you'd be there. It's nuts how fast that thing could fly. Anyway, moving on. Speaking of Scott, he is going to be coming back here right after Christmas to build yet another guitar. He wants to use my shop and build another guitar. And I'm going to hopefully make it a condition that he films it and that we can show you guys the process. I think you'd like that. So anyway, we'll see how that works out. Yesterday, I went into town a little early before Dickie's and did a little Christmas shopping for some folks and birthday shopping for my grandson Isaac and things. And while I was in there, because it's a senior discount day at the farm store, I went in there and said, can I buy the pipe today and then pick it up tomorrow? And that way I got my discount. And it was a significant discount, about $50. So anyway, I bought the pipe to run the fiber cable up to the house. So right after the vlog today, I'm headed up there to get that. And that kind of leads me to the next topic. Is Sue's all aggravated with me because I've got so many projects started and none of them finished. And, part of it is I can't help it. I got to cut so dang much firewood now, and everything keeps breaking. And, your priorities change as that happens. And, yeah, so it's not like I won't get it done. Anything I start, if I live long enough, I'll get it done. There's no question about that part. But it's just the priorities have changed so much because of the firewood and because of all the equipment that keeps breaking. And speaking of that, I have to fix that grapple bucket, as I was telling you, because I need to get back down there and knock over all those trees for JR so I get the free firewood. And speaking of that, I'm going to show you a video here very quickly. In fact, it may be the next thing. No, I got one more thing before that. I want to say a real deep thank you to all those who contributed last year about this time to Patrick, who is my cousin's son, who had the epileptic seizures at our Christmas party. And that Christmas party is coming up this Saturday. And she sent me a nice Christmas card, and she has a Patrick update here, and I thought I would just read it to you. For those of you who are new and don't know about this, Patrick, again, as I said, was my cousin's son, and at the Christmas party, he suffered probably 4 or 5 epileptic seizures, and they were huge. I mean, they were huge. And they rushed him to the hospital. And it was really sad because he was up to that point. I mean, well, not up to the point of the Christmas party. He had started having these seizures about a year earlier or something. And anyway, up to that point in his life, he'd been happy, healthy, and just a normal teenager and could drive and everything. Well, after these seizures started, he couldn't drive anymore. So anyway, it was really severe at Christmas time, and it continued for a while, and then they got him on some new medication this past July. And so here's the update. Patrick's update. He started a new medication in July. Since then has had only one seizure, and that was at the end of September. He was supposed to have a procedure in early December to diagnose, it's big words. Anyway, it was to go in and do some neurological examination, and they've decided they didn't need to do that now that they feel like he's under control with this new medication. He's been working part-time, which he couldn't hold a job before, and he's working at a local grocery store. And he still cannot drive, but so the next goal is to get him seizure-free for 6 months in a row so that he can get back to driving again. And she just wanted to say thanks to everybody. Let me play you now my, and let me just add my thanks too. Thank you very much. Let's see, the firewood video. Here we go. Hello, my friends. It's 9:30 a.m. on Tuesday morning, and we are going to cut up this log pile here. I used the Bobcat and piled these all up so that I could cut them up fairly easy with the chainsaw. And we're going to haul as many of these as we can today and pile them up next to the furnace so that I'll have plenty of fuel for a while. Even this will only last a couple of weeks. I know it seems like that's impossible, but that's the truth. It'll only last a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks if we're real lucky, but I doubt it. It depends on how cold it gets. So I got to get started. It's 9:30, and I'll show you what time it is when I quit on this. It's been exactly 21 minutes since I turned the camera on the first time. Now keep in mind I had to fuel up the chainsaw, had to get on my safety gear, all that, and I did all that in 21 minutes or maybe about 18 minutes. So that's a lot. That's probably a trailer and a half or 2 trailer loads of wood already. So I'm gonna have to pick this up before I can cut up the rest of it because I just keep tripping over it. I could go around on the other side, but it's just easier to work from this uphill side. So I'm gonna pull the trailer over there closer and start throwing this on. This is what I call taking a break. Well, it's 10:36, and I've got 90% of this, maybe even a little more than that, sawed up. There's a little bit I can't get to right now because of all the other loose wood piled up on it. But my saw was getting dull, so I just decided to quit. 10:36, so an hour and 6 minutes to get that far. That ain't bad. And by the way, it was 22 degrees when I started, and the coat came off within about 15 minutes. And as you can see, I don't have a coat on, and I'm sweating through my shirt. So that's just the name of this tune here. It gets you hot in a hurry. And I don't take any breaks. You couldn't cut all that in an hour and 6 minutes if you did. But at least we're done. Well, we're done for the moment. I'm going to have to sharpen some more chains before I cut up anything else because I'm out of chains. And I'm just going to load what I can on here right now. We'll go dump this, and then I'll come back and get whatever's left. Well, there's the final load. You can see I piled some more on top there, and then I found room to put the tools on, and that's about as good as it's going to get for this load. I'll come back, and this will be a full load for sure.
Plus, I need to saw up a little bit more yet, so I may bring back the small chainsaw and saw up the rest of this if I need to. Though I have a feeling this will fill up the trailer at least. And 2 loads today is good enough for today. Okay, it's 10:56. We've got the first load back here to the furnace. And as I've shown before, I just picked this button up and it starts lifting. Very easy way to unload firewood. When you think about it, that little battery has an awful lot of power, doesn't it? And that hydraulic system. And we're just about completely dumped, so I'll just roll the tractor forward if it'll let me. It's probably in gear. Nope, it's gonna roll. There you go. So that dumped it all. And now we'll push the button down and it will drop the lift right back down. Here it comes. It's a little slow coming down, but that's better than a little fast coming down. There you go, we're done. Now we'll go pick up the next load. Well, it's now 11:24, so almost 2 hours. We got the second trailer loaded of that giant pile of logs. Here's what's left. There's still enough here to burn, of course, and I would have sawed that up, except for 2 reasons. Number 1, all that other stuff was piled on top of it. I couldn't get to it. And number 2, the saw was going real dull. So it is what it is. It ain't going nowhere. It'll wait for me till the next time. We're gonna go back and dump this. Well, here's load number 2. Let's get her dumped. It's a heavy load. It really is a heavy, heavy load this time. I didn't want to make another trip. All right, we're gonna have to roll it forward to get that to dump because I piled it on top of the other. So let's see, can we roll the wheel forward or is it uphill too much? It's going a little bit. Pretty hard to do. There we go. Did it all come out or not? No, it ain't even close coming out yet. We got a long ways to go. I'll probably just have to start it and pull forward. Well, I think that did it. Oh, it didn't. It still has a little bit left. Oh, I'll be darned. Well, that's a pretty big pile of wood there. Not bad for 2 hours and about 5 minutes worth of work. I'll take that. And that saves probably at least 2 weeks worth of heat. And I would say that would be worth about $750 for about 2 weeks worth of propane heat out of this big giant house, because it would cost you at least $1,500 a month, and that's a very conservative estimate. So for 2 hours work, I save $750. That's the way I look at it. So here's a better look at the full pile. It's quite a bit of firewood. That'll last a while. Like I said, about 2 weeks. That's about what that's going to last. And I wish it'd last longer, but with the cold temperatures we've been having, that's probably about all it'll do. We'll try to keep track of this and show you how long it really does last.
Well, that's the name of that tune, so at least I'm caught up for a little bit. 2 weeks ain't very long, really, when you get down to it, but yeah. And so I'll probably be cutting it another load just before Christmas yet, maybe. I don't know. It's just not easy being me. If anybody has any doubts about what I'm telling you about the price of of heating this house, as I've said before, you can cool it for almost nothing. I mean, you can cool it cheaper than you can cool your car. I mean, it cools easy. I mean, it doesn't take nothing. For as big as the house is, to keep it really cool in the summertime, no problem at all. But to heat it, it's a totally different story. And it's all that cold coming in from that big slab, 7,000 square feet concrete slab. And, there's just no thermal breaks, and there's no way to put a thermal break in it. And everybody says, trench it and, forget it. It's just impossible. Just impossible. You'd be way better off just to tear it down and build a new house. But it's just a neat old house. I like it. It's just cool, and it's the price I pay. And every single person, well, at least since the original guy, who was Gerber, but everybody since then, so about since the 60s on, everybody that I know about and have heard the history on has gone bankrupt here because they were trying to pay for propane. And it'll bankrupt you in a heartbeat. It really will, because it's just unbelievable. And that was from the day one. I decided I was never going to use propane. I would only use, I know we have used propane, little spurts here and there, but just a spurt, a day or two or something. But so we have propane as a backup, and it was, we kind of lucked out on that too, because those are two huge furnaces, and both of them were under warranty. And we had a furnace guy out here, and he looked at them. He says, "These are under warranty." He says, "They could use new heat exchangers. You want me to put those in?" I said, "Well, sure." So he did. He put in new heat exchangers. Didn't cost me nothing. So they're basically brand new furnaces, if you will, and they've really not been used since that's happened. So anyway, the only criteria I have for firewood, I mean, actually, there's two criteria. And that's it. And this is the only two criteria. One of them is that it has to be wood. That's the first criteria. Second criteria, it has to fit through the door. That's it. I don't have any other criteria. You watch these other people making firewood, and it's got to be this length, they mark it up, they pre-mark it off, like 16 inches, and then they cut them exactly 16 inches, and then they split them, and it can't be no bigger than this, and they don't even really like it if it's got bark on it. I could give a rip. If it fits in the door and it's wood, it's fair game, I'm not exaggerating on this. You may think, oh, he's just talking. I'm seriously telling you, I have burnt railroad ties in there. I have burnt telephone poles in there, and they're full of, creosote and everything. You can't tell it. You can't smell it. That thing incinerates everything. It don't give a rip, and it don't creosote up the chimney either. I'm seriously telling you, I've never had to clean the chimney since 2013. And you look up in it. You can look up in the thing from the backside, and it's it's not completely clear, but you'll see the silver metal shining in there. It's that clean. It's amazing. So it just is what it is, guys. And everybody has a solution for me on this, but trust me, there ain't no solution. And if you came here and saw it, you'd understand. And like I said, everybody else went bankrupt, and I just wasn't planning on doing that. All right, let's go to the comments and see where we're at. Rod Wintler, good morning from pre-dawn, Berkeley, California. And Bob GM, good morning from Newfoundland. See, I'm a little slow there, Bob. Long run from Newfoundland to Berkeley, California. Yeah, that'd be it wouldn't be on the supersonic jet, though. It wouldn't take you very long at all. Michael Ragusa, good morning, Jerry. Heat wave in New Rochelle. Rochelle's my daughter's name, by the way. New York, 46 degrees. Love your channel, and thank you for all you do. Well, you're sure welcome, and thank you for watching. Carolyn Fike is there, and then Kelly Manis, and Bruce Hines, and let's see, Thomas Armstrong, New Hampshire, it says there, and then Chuck Heidbreder from St. James. Let's see here, Ben Boyd. There was another thing on that supersonic. They said it goes, I think they said it goes about 26 miles in a minute. So I could get from here to Chuck Heidbreder's St. James. I could get to St. James in about 1 minute. It would only take about a minute to get there. That's crazy, really, when you think about it. And let's see. Moving on down, I'm going to be Ben Boyd was the first one after we went live from Arkansas there. So let's scroll down and see if we can see any question marks. There's James Kopp says, morning from sunny San Leon, Texas. I am now 69 years old. Well, you just caught up with me almost. I'm just a month ahead of you there, or actually not even a full month. I was on the 28th of November was when I hit my 69. Let's see. Moving on down. Bruce, he just had his 70th, it looks like, in August. So a lot of us are around the same age there. And Blackjack Guitar, good morning. Moving on down. Here we go. Christia Thomason, she says, the Banjo Lee has a, yeah, that's another name people call it. I always called it a banjolin. Has a long history in vaudeville. Yeah, I know all about that stuff too. I was told under no circumstances could I bring one of those into the house. They're too loud. Yeah. I don't mean to pick on them or hate on them or anything. It's just they're just not my style, And I mean, there's a lot of people that really love the things, and that's fine if that's what you're into. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people that hate mandolins. That's perfectly okay too. It's just what you're into, And I'm just not into those. Jeff Puris, you are probably in or near a supersonic corridor, a designated airspace for supersonic flight. I guess, because I'm seriously telling you, we hear them here. And I would say we average, I don't know, sometimes it'll seem like it'll go a while and you don't hear one. But I'd say we average about one a month. But it seems like sometimes you'll go several months and not hear one. But anyway, it's super, super, super loud, and it shakes the house worse than not worse than an earthquake necessarily, but like an earthquake, and the whole floor shakes everything. It's just nuts how powerful they are. Like I said, the horses, you'll see the horses, man, they just take off down the field. They don't know what happened. It scares them to death. Let's see, Donald Weir, it's because you're in a flight path of the military going to Fort Leonard Wood, coming from Illinois somewhere, probably Springfield. Yeah, I'm sure it's got something to do with that. Possibly why I can't fly my drone through my gate. It's so dumb. The spoken song. I'm considering having some work done on one of my guitars to make sure I get a fair price. How does a luthier go about determining the repair price? Is it simply a by the job kind of thing? Well, I'm going to turn this little heater on here, guys, because it's really cold here, and I hope it doesn't make too much noise. I don't know how to tell you about that pricing. That I try. I had enough experience at some point in time where I could estimate the job on the amount of time fairly closely. And so I'd always give an estimate by the hour. I tried to just bill by the hour. And then I could give a fair estimate. And I'd say, well, I think the time is going to range from 2 hours to maybe as much as possibly 5 hours, and I'd say, I bill this much per hour. So that'll give you some idea. Now, your parts and your shipping are extra, and that's how I tried to bid it. So I don't know how every other luthier does it, to be truthful and to be honest with you. I just hope you get a good, honest person, and he gives you a good, honest price, and that's the best I can hope for there. And unfortunately, I can't really tell you much more than that. But good luck to you on it. Dan says he heard them all the time when he was a kid in the 60s. Yeah, we sure did too. And, I just don't, I remember them being loud in the 60s. I do. But I don't remember them being loud like these are loud. Gee whiz. Just unbelievable. It sounds exactly like you would expect a huge bomb if it dropped about 500 yards out there in the field. Like a huge bomb. It sounds exactly like you'd think that would happen. the first one I heard here, I seriously looked for a mushroom cloud. I really did, because I didn't, I hadn't heard one since the '60s, like I told you. And I seriously was looking for a mushroom cloud. I thought, man, something blew up, man. That ain't good, whatever it was, And it turns out that's all it is these sonic booms. Tom, yesterday there was a Ma Bell emblem on the plaque behind you in the man cave. Is that from your Southwestern Bell days? Yes. Well, sort of, kind of. I mean, that little a painting is really what it was. We had a charge in one of my night classes. I went to night school for 18 years, from the time I was 18 to the time I was 36. Yeah, that's the truth. I really did. And anyway, one of the classes, and I think it was a psychology class, I can't remember now, but anyway, their charge was that we had to make a collage, and we had to, cut up magazines and put pictures of things that were important in our lives. Well, I said, I'm not into cutting up magazines. Would you care if I just paint something? And he goes, yeah, that'd be fine. And I said, could I just paint a collage? And he goes, sure, that'd be great. And I said, okay, well, that's what I'm going to do. So I painted that, and I painted the Southwestern Bell, because it kind of was the center of my life in a sense, because that was what provided for my family, provided for me, and it was kind of a very important thing. So that I kind of use that as the backdrop, and then around it I put other symbols of things, like there was a horse for my dad, and there was a quarter, believe it or not, for my grandpa. He gave us silver quarters every time we went to visit him. And I had a guitar, I think, in the picture, and that was kind of representing my Uncle Don in the music, and just, on and on. And there was a fish, because I loved to fish when I was a kid, a big fish on there. So it was just things like that. And then I had my house, and I had a small painting of my house, which represented my family. And, anyway, it was just all those things. And I'm sure I got an A. Anyway, moving on. Thrash Metal Studio has a long one here. Let me read it. Wondering how that guitar with the neck joint replacement held up. I have to do the same repair, and I've already had 3 technicians make the guitar worse. I'm not a luthier, but I know I can do it. Well, the problem that I have in answering your question is I don't know which one you're talking about, because I did a lot of them, and a lot of them were very complicated. And as far as I know, all of them have held up. So I don't think there's been any problem with any of them. I remember one before YouTube that was probably the worst of all of them. I mean, it was missing chunks of wood between the peg head and the neck. It was bad, man. I'm seriously telling you. And I built that one with spline. I rebuilt it with spline joints and things. And the guy that owned it, it was a Martin guitar, and I take it back. Maybe it was a Gibson. I think it was a Gibson, but I'm not positive either way. It was before YouTube. Anyway, I heard from him a couple, 2 or 3 years later, and he still just loved it. So that just give you some idea that it's a good joint. It's good if you do it the right way. A lot of people try to think that they can just dowel pin things like that, and they can just put splines through there and stuff, and not so much. You really need to go all the way, and I can't think. What's the name of that joint again? Where it's just the word. I know what we're trying to say. Where you slide one piece of wood past the other one. I can't think of it, but I'm sure you guys will put it in the comments. Me and words. It's pitiful. It's just pitiful. I wish I could get over that, but I can't. Here's Marigold. Greetings from Sweden. And she's talking that Swedish language again. Gordon Bartlett. Does whole round wood burn longer than split wood, or does it matter in your furnace? Well, I guess I would say the bigger the better. You know what I'm saying? I also find this comment funny, because there's lots of people that own big furnaces like this. Yeah, I can put 4-foot pieces of wood in my furnace. Well, can you pick it up? A 4-foot log ain't no simple thing to pick up, especially if it's any size. It's heavy, man. I mean, especially oak, I mean, it's real heavy, way heavier than you would think. And so I cut mine short, and I was told by the furnace people to keep your fire in the front of your box because the fire goes all the way through the chamber and it heats the water as it goes through. Where if you put your fire back in the back, it heats, but it goes out the chimney too fast, And so anyway, that's my theory behind it. And, I can't say as I can tell you which one lasts all that much longer. It's more like the size of it. If it's pretty big, it'll last. Otherwise, it don't. And neither one of them lasts very long. And because it calls for so much heat, because there's so much heat loss in the floor of that house. That's the problem. And everybody says you need to insulate it. Well, I've done that. It's insulated as good as just about any house you could ever find. In fact, snow will sit on top of the roof. It's not losing it through the roof. It's losing it through the floor. And the floor's cold, it really is. And my wife is always freezing just because the floor's cold. Marigold Tyne, well, let's see, there's another comment there, but she's just talking her language there. Christina Thomason, full disclosure, I have 11 ukuleles. Christina, I took a lot of psychology classes. Do you want to have a FaceTime later? We may have a little issue there that we need to talk to you about. That's funny to hear a woman say that because men do that all the time. They, like I got 19 guitars, that kind of thing. You don't hear the women say that very often. That's pretty funny. Butch the Polito. Hello, Jerry from Harmony, North Carolina. I think I would move to South Florida for the winter, then rather than cut up all that wood all winter. Yeah, but like I said, use it or lose it. There's a lot to be said for that. You believe it or not, I don't know. I don't mean to brag on this, but I don't really know anybody else my age that can keep up with me. I really don't. I mean, Ron can kind of, but he's starting to show it a little bit now. Where he didn't show it for the longest time, but he's starting to show it a little bit now. And of course, I show it too because of the joint pain and stuff. But otherwise, if it wasn't for the joint pain, if it wasn't for two things, if it wasn't for the joint pain and I didn't have to look in a mirror, I would honestly believe I was only 35. I really would. I know it sounds crazy, but that's the truth. I've been blessed with very good health in terms of being able to do stuff. So I'm not complaining. And like I said, I'll just keep doing it so I don't lose it. For right now, anyway. There's Rick Hartley says, good morning. Good morning to you. And moving on down. Let's see. Well, looks like that's going to be it, maybe. Because all the rest of them are in a different language that I can't read. I guess that's going to be it, guys. There's 140 viewers on here right now, and I am going to hook up some kind of rig. I mean, I hate to take the giant truck and the giant trailer to go pick up that 20-foot long pipe. See, I bought them in 20-foot lengths because I didn't want to be hooking together, so many 10-foot lengths going over 300 feet. The 20-foot lengths cuts the joints in half in terms of the number of joints. So, but it's a little bit of a problem to haul it. Now, I've got a 12-foot trailer that I can hook up to Sue's truck, and I'm thinking I might just lay the pipe in the back of her truck, lay the tailgate down, and let the pipe extend back over the trailer and let it just flex as you're driving, and just somehow, I don't know. I think I can do that, and I'm going to go out there and measure and test that theory, because it should be a lot easier to just pull the short 12-foot trailer with her truck. And it would probably still stick out the back a little bit, maybe 3 feet or something, and or 4 feet maybe. But I could put a flag on that. But anyway, that's kind of my present idea. Otherwise, I'll have to hook up some great big truck and trailer or something. I don't know. Scarf joint, yeah, that's it. I see, I know it, I just can't say it, that's all. But thanks for bringing that up, scarf joint. When did you start working on instruments? Did you get your start working on your own instruments? And yes. Well, I started, I've kind of told this story till it's wore out already, but the truth is that, I started playing mandolin about age 28 roughly, and I got good fast, or pretty good fast is better way, because I'm still only pretty good, I'm not good, but anyway, I progressed pretty quickly, so I wanted a better mandolin, so I bought a little bit better mandolin, and then I wanted a little better mandolin, and so now I'm talking to my uncle about it. He goes, son, he says, just go get you a Lloyd Loar mandolin. There ain't nothing else out there, and that's the way he was. And it's sort of true. Especially at the time, it was sort of true, because we're talking back in the early 80s. There weren't as many choices as there are now. Like you could get like an Alvarez, and you could get a Kentucky, and some of the Kentuckys were real good. Most of the Alvarezes were not all that great. Every once in a while you'd hit an Alvarez that was really good. But anyway, he says, just get you a Lloyd Loar Gibson mandolin, and, there ain't nothing else out there. So I made phone calls, and I called George Gruen down there in Nashville, and sure enough, he had a Lloyd Loar mandolin in Nashville. Now, at the time, I had priced a bunch of them all over the country, and they were $6,000 to $8,000, but most of them weren't for sale or whatever, and whatever, or they'd already been sold or whatever. So anyway, this George says, yeah, I've got one in stock here. Says it was made on November 28th, 1924. And why do I remember that date? Because November 28th is my birthday, and 1954 was the year. So exactly 30 years to the day before I was born. So I hop in the car thinking, I own that mandolin because it's got my birthday in it, So I drive all the way to Nashville because he wouldn't price it over the phone. So I'm expecting to have to pay $8,000. Now, this is back in the early 80s. I didn't really even have $8,000. But I was still going to try to buy it, When I get down there, he was firm on $12,500, and he wouldn't even think about taking $1 less. Well, I didn't even have $8,000, let alone $12,500, so I just tucked my tail between my legs and drove all the way back home, 6 hours or whatever it was, and the whole time I said, I'm going to build my own. I'm going to build my own. I'm gonna figure out how to do it, and I'm gonna build my own. So I tell my uncle this grand scheme, and he said, son, you're just wasting your time. You ain't no point in even thinking about that. So I bought the Roger Siminoff book, which is up on the shelf there that you can almost see. And I read, and I'm not exaggerating. So people think I make stuff like this up. I swear to you, I tell it to you black and white. I read that book cover to cover 8 times before I even bought a piece of wood. And the reason I did that was, first of all, I was in a van pull, so it was like an hour commute each way, and so I had plenty of time to read, and I was reading the book, and I just really, truly wanted to understand it. I didn't want to just kind of think I knew what I was doing. I wanted to really understand it. And I read it 8 times. And as slow as I read, that took a while. Anyway, so I got faster each time, though, because I already knew what I was going to read. But anyway, then I became obsessed like you ain't never seen anybody obsessed in your life with getting this thing done. And I mean, every single second I wasn't working at Southwestern Bell, I was working on that mandolin. And I mean every second, including on my lunch hours. I was walking to the, which was only a couple blocks away, but I would walk to the main library downtown St. Louis, which was huge. And I was in there every day on my lunch hour, and I'd be reading about the old luthiers and the old builders like Stradivari and Guarneri and, all the different ones. And I don't even know if I'm saying their names right. Don't matter. The point is I was reading about all the old masters. And I was down there so much that the clerks got to know me, and they would let me go back and read the stuff that the general public couldn't see. And it was very helpful, and I learned a lot of insights and, about like on the mandolin with Stradivari's, some of the things that really stuck to me were the quarter sawn wood, the tight grain, and not to carve it too arched. He learned that, and that you don't want to carve your arch too tall. It cuts down your volume. It cuts down on your tonal quality. You'll get a flat. When you carve it flatter and thin, of course, you'll get a flatter sound. You'll get a woodier sound, a more projecting sound that'll go out for it. So I learned all these kinds of things by reading that, and so anyway, it took me exactly 1 month, well, really close to exactly 1 month, to get that mandolin done. And every single minute that I wasn't working, I was working on that thing. And I'd work like till 2 in the morning, sleep till 6, get up and go back to work. And then when I get home, I'd do the same thing, work till 2 in the morning. I did this forever until I got it done. So when I got it done, I was super proud of it. I thought, man, this thing turned out good. And, just a little side note before I get to this part of the story is like, back then I didn't have any tools either. So when I was making the sides, and I was making it out of bird's eye maple of all things, which is probably one of the hardest choices. That and real curly maple, either one's really hard. But, trying to bend that, it would break and pop at those little bird's eyes. And so I'd have to make a new set. I made, I think, 18 pieces of wood before I got my sides made, something like that. I made one part 18 times, something like that, before I got the sides built. It took me I think 3 days. Well, later on, I had that down where I could build a set of sides in just about an hour. So, it's a huge difference once you learn how to do something. Well, anyway, so I finished the mandolin, I took it, and I knew my uncle was playing a festival or a show or something, festival I think it was, over in Illinois. It was a several-hour drive, but I thought, I got to go show. I'm so excited, So I drove all the way over there, and my uncle was, I'd call him like a middle-level star, he wasn't like the big stars, but he, at least in the local area, he was the first inductee into what they called the Pure Country and Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame for the tri-state area, which was Iowa, Illinois, and Missouri. So he was the very first inductee into that Hall of Fame. So anyway, that's the kind of level he was. And so when I get there, well, there's a line formed to, having to get his autograph and, to talk to him and, all that. After the show, he was actually sitting on the tailgate of a truck and people were just waiting to talk to him, So I wait my turn in line and I get up to him and I said, take a look at this. And he goes, oh, where'd you get that? And I said, I made it. He says, you made that? And I said, yeah, I made that. He goes, well, I'll be darned. He said, that's pretty nice. And so he picked it up and he played it he didn't play it for a full minute. He played a couple little notes and he chopped on it a little bit. He goes, and he hands it right back to me. He goes, well, he says, I'll tell you what, that thing plays pretty good, but it ain't got no chop. Just like that. That's all he said. So I put my tail between my legs again and I walk off again. And I walk about, I'm going to say about 100 yards. I can still see him out of the corner of my eye. It's pretty far, almost the length of a football field, but not quite that far maybe. And so I see some friends and they're jamming at the back of a pickup truck there. And so I just joined their jam. Well, I keep my eye on my uncle. He's, like I said, pretty far away, and people are still talking to him. And all at once, just like John Wayne in the movies, he just stands up like this, and he's got his eyes focused on me, and he's at least 75 yards away, and he's just walking with his eyes right on me the whole time. It's like, what is going on here? I'm kind of watching him, out of the corner of my eye, And anyway, he comes up to me and says, son. And I said, what? He goes, I just wanted to tell you, I was wrong about that mandolin. And I said, what do you mean? He says, not only does that thing play good, but he says, you can hear that over everything around here. He says, that thing's got one heck of a chop. I said, well, thank you. And then later in life, he told me, he says, I just want you to know that if I wasn't playing a lower mandolin, I'd be playing your mandolin. And I said, well, thank you very much. So anyway, that's the name of that tune, and that's how it started. And after I built that first mandolin, I'm not kidding you, every single place I went, I came home with instruments to fix. And it wasn't because I was trying to. People would just say, hey, I've got this thing here. Do you think you could fix this? I go, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can fix that. It ain't no big deal. I'd take it home and I'd fix it, And it just grew, and it just grew, and it just grew, and it just grew, and it just snowballed all over me then, especially after I put it on YouTube. It just got way out of hand after I put it on YouTube. All right, long-winded story again. Let's see. Blackjack guitar. Jerry, any luck with the Bobcat? Well, I've got a couple of clues I want to look at. I still focusing partly on the fuel because I think that's part of it. But I still think there's something else too with the hydraulics. And one of the error codes that popped up on the hydraulics end of it was something about the hydraulic pressure. And it said one of the first things you need to check would be the tightness of the drive belt. And I haven't looked at that yet. There's a cover over it, so it could be that the drive belt's just loose, and that would be awesome. I'd just be in love if that was the problem. Or maybe it's bad and it's frayed or something, I don't know. But I'm going to look at that, and if it's not that, I'm really afraid it'll be the hydraulic pump. And if it's the hydraulic pump, you and me, and you know how much that's going to cost. That ain't going to be no $5 job there. And I'm just scared of that one. Yeah, scarf joint, somebody else, or Blackjack Guitar said that also. I've lost my place now. Okay, yeah, here we go. Moving on down. Speaking that foreign language again. Jerry is going to have a hard time reading this, she says. Kid, I have a hard time reading anything. It doesn't matter. Even in my own language, I have a hard time reading it. I sure have a hard time reading it in your language. Oh, my gosh. Let's see. Moving on down. Let's see. Tyler says, great story. Thanks for sharing. Well, you're welcome. I've told it quite a few times. I feel like I've burnt that story up pretty bad, but it's a true story, and I'm pretty sure if you go back and check it, you'll hear almost the exact same words on the story every time, because it's exactly how I remember it happening. MFC, that's a great story. Oh, Jerry, testimony to your perseverance and dedication. Yeah, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you I was obsessed. Most people would have said, why don't you give that up a little bit, Why don't you lay that down for a little while? My wife was worried about me. I'm seriously telling you. Obsessed isn't even a good word. There needs to be a stronger word than obsessed. Because I didn't even lay it down, man. I mean, I'm serious. I even carried it to work with me. Like on my lunch hour, if I wasn't at the library, I was looking at it, just trying to think of what I needed to do and how to go approach. I mean, I'm obsessed. Bill Shell, good morning, Jerry. Boy, is it cold here in old Kentucky. Hope you're having a good day. Well, so far we are. Could be water in the diesel fuel. Could that have frozen? Yeah, maybe. I don't think so. I don't think that's my issue. I mean, I really don't, because it's happened on warm days and things too. I really do think that for one thing, there's just some kind of contaminant in the tank. And like I said, you can't get to it. Again, if you just think about the common sense of it, it's a large tank. And you can just get into one little point in the tank. If you can get into it, you can only get into one point because it's, like I said, it's got some crooks into it. And, you can't even see the tank. When you open up, you can raise the seat and you can look behind the engine. You can't even see it. And so if you stick something down there like a vacuum, it's going to vacuum out of this one little spot, but, if the dirt's over here, it ain't going to touch the dirt over there, even if you suck everything out over here. You know what I mean? It's just not going to draw it over. And you can blow through here, and it's only going to blow through that little spot where the fuel goes down in the tank, and it ain't going to push it over to where you can vacuum it either, really, for the most part. I mean, it's not a simple thing to do. And as far as I can tell, at least I need to look at it closer again because I haven't looked at it in a while. But the last time I remember looking at it, it looked to me like you'd have to pull the engine. And I ain't pulling the engine. I mean, that's at least a 5-minute job to pull the engine. I don't know. It's just, like I said, it's just not easy being me. That's the bottom line. And right now I'm in that cycle, see? I'm in that vortex. And I got to tell you this funny story yesterday. See, I after the vlog yesterday, I was telling you how I'm in this cycle where everything just is going wrong because it can go wrong. It's the Rosa law. It should never have been Murphy's law. So yesterday, this is a true story, I swear to you. And I know for sure that I did not cause this. I absolutely know for sure. Positive 100%, I would swear on a Bible that I never caused this problem. But it happened anyway. And that is, I was in a hurry. I was getting ready to go to town to, buy that pipe, do the Christmas shopping, and then go to the Dickey's barbecue thing. So I wanted to run in here and fix this computer first. So I did that. But then I needed to run out and go get a cord up at the house. So I come out and I jump in the car and it's locked. How did it lock? The key's still inside the thing. You can't lock it. When the key's inside it, it won't lock. So then I think, how am I going to get in this thing, So I just look, and I look across, and I can see, well, the passenger door ain't locked. It's just the driver's door. So then I look at the back door. It ain't locked either. None of the other doors are locked. It's just the driver door. I'm not kidding you. So I think, well, that is weird. So I open up a door, and I reach in, and I unlock the driver's door. Drive up to the house, get my thing. I come back here. Now I fix this. Now I'm ready to go to town and leave. I go out there. The driver's door is locked again. And this time, I absolutely 1,000% know I didn't touch nothing to cause this. I'm just in that cycle, man. I'm telling you right now. And then I was at, and this is just silly, but it seems to be true anyway. I was at the cash register at the farm store checking out to buy that pipe, see? And all at once, and I'm standing there right next to the girl's, computerized cash register and the credit card machine and all that stuff. And all of a sudden it starts going haywire. I said, wait, let me back up. I said, it's my fault. I'm just in a vortex right now. Everything I touch is doing this. I said, just let me get away from it. And it seemed to settle down after I got away from it. It's just nuts. I am not kidding you. It's just nuts. You just have to follow me around to believe it because you just wouldn't believe it otherwise. Oh my gosh. Bruce Ducker says, friend told me you should put some biodiesel in the tank to get rid of any gunk. Okay, well, I'll think about that. Yeah, I might look for an additive or something. That may be an idea. I hadn't thought of that actually, so that's a good idea. Jerry, so you have plans for that jig you use to align mandolin necks? Well, I mean, I don't plan to get rid of it. The jig is so simple, it's ridiculous. If you buy the Roger Semenoff book, it tells you how to make it. So, that's all you really need. Just get that book, and then you'll be able to make one. It's a piece of cake to make. Ain't nothing to it. And I've just used the same jig forever, and it worked perfectly for me. So now, just to be clear, I was following the first Roger Semenoff book. He's put out a second book, and I think some things have changed. And the neck thing is probably one of them, to be honest. And I'm pretty sure it is one of them. But I just followed the process in the first book. So just to be clear. Let's see. C90 guy, do you still have the first mandolin you made? Yeah, or photos of it? Yes, and I do have photos of it too. But my son owns the first mandolin because the first mandolin that I made, I completed it on his birthday, which was a really cool thing. I actually strung it up on his birthday. That was the first day I played it, and he was 1 year old, I believe. I think he was, yeah, pretty sure he was 1 year old the day I made that. Finished it. Let's see. So I gave it to him, and he owns that one, and it's still a great mandolin. I mean, it plays good, sounds good. In fact, it's a killer mandolin. It really is a good one. Let's see. Moving on here. Chuck Hybrider, there is a spring strainer at the bottom of the fill hose. There's also a filter on the beginning of the pickup hose in the tank. Yeah, and I do think that the filter is my problem in the tank. I mean I don't think you can get to. I assume it's a screen. That's what I assume it is. And I think stuff gets built up around there, and it won't let it go down in there somehow or another. And what I do is I blow through it, and you can hear it bubbling and blowing stuff away. And often when I do that, it'll last for 2 or 3, 4 weeks before I have a problem again. And I'm talking hard use for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, So that's good enough. If I can get 2 or 3 weeks without a problem, and then all I got to do is blow through it again real quick. It only takes a minute to blow through it. It ain't that big a deal, But right now I'm in that vortex, that cycle, and it just says, nope, sorry, it ain't going to have it right now. But like I said, I'm not even sure that the problem I'm having right now is the fuel. I mean, I really am not. I kind of think it's got something to do with the hydraulic pressure based on the error message I got. So I got to look into that, and I think that's really where my real problem is, unfortunately. I think that's where it's at. Bruce Ducker says it is an additive. Okay, yeah, all right, I'll look into that. When you said biodiesel, I thought you were talking about the homemade biodiesel that people make, like vegetable oils and things like that. So I didn't know what you're really referring to, but I get you. I see what you're talking about now. MFC says, you better take all those magnets out of your pockets. Maybe that vortex will end. Yeah, I seriously tell you, it's funny sometimes. Like I said, I've said this before, but it's true. I mean, it's 100% true. It was well known at Southwestern Bell. Give your program to Jerry. Let him go through your program. If it's going to fail, it'll fail on him. And it always did. It only took me a minute to debug a program. It was like there was real bugs and they would just crawl their way to me. It wasn't like I had some super sense to be able to get in there and find the problem. It was like it would always just fail when I touch it. And I don't know how to explain that otherwise. But it was widely known through the programmers. If you want your program debugged, give it to Rosa. He'll find the bugs. And I just did. And it wasn't because I was good at it. It was because they found me. That's the truth. You believe what you want. It's just the black and white truth. It's just the way it worked. Guys, that's it. I'm done. I guess I'm going to have to make my trip to town and pick up that long pipe and just start yet another project that's not done. Just make my wife that much happier. We will see you tomorrow with something.